on the theme of culture and the topic of the three things that matter in purpose and leadership. We have Fiona English. Fiona, can you hear me?
I can. Can you hear me?
Yes, we can. And our virtual floor is yours.
Thank you. The title of my speech tonight is The Three Things That Matter in Purpose and Leadership. I write about purpose and leadership all the time. They're topics that I'm really passionate about. And yet, despite that passion, I find myself increasingly frustrated because we as a business community have allowed conversations on purpose and meaning to become meaningless. We talk about purpose and leadership, but we don't allow any depth to be there. So tonight, I'm not going to tell you what are the three things that matter. Rather, I'm going to pose three questions to everybody. And I believe if you know the answers to these three questions, that purpose and leadership will naturally be more evident in your life and business. Now, my journey to be here tonight, of course, started with my own search for how I could demonstrate greater leadership and purpose in my life. 5 years ago, I changed career. I had spent nearly 20 years working in global investment markets, and truthfully, it was a job that I loved. But I started to have this longing inside me. And at the time, I couldn't really put words to it, but with the benefit of hindsight, I realized I wanted to be of greater impact in the world. Now, this led to a period of soul searching. I did a psychology master's, and in particular, I conducted research on topics such as meaning and purpose, authenticity, spirituality, and leadership. They sound like very different topics, but they share the exploration of who are we and how do we want to show up in the world. Ultimately, what does it mean to lead? Because we're confused about leadership in the modern world. We think to lead, we must have power. But what many global leaders have shown us is that you can have power and never lead. Leadership is about impact. It's about using the resources available to you, regardless of your power or your wealth, to have a positive impact on yourself, others, and society. And this is where purpose and leadership intersect. There's no doubt in 2022, purpose as a concept is up for sale. Everywhere I look, I see business leaders talking about it. But it takes real leadership to define and execute purpose with integrity. The biggest mistake I see people make is that they've forgotten that purpose and leadership are inherently human. You can't outsource purpose and leadership to your business. They're about you. And what we must remember is that even if your business has a purpose statement, it can only be you as its leader that can breathe life into that statement. For me, purpose and leadership can only come from within. And that brings me back to the three questions that I want to ask everyone tonight. The first question is, who do you want to be in the world? Now, if I logged on to social media now, it wouldn't take long for me to come across statements such as, find your purpose, what's your why, how to lead. And my issue with all of these statements is they're very action orientated, that we must look outside of ourselves for purpose and leadership. The truth is, purpose and leadership are not about what you do, they're about who you are. Now, this was a big learning for me. I'm a very action-orientated person. My American friends tell me I have a type A personality, but I quickly had to learn that having more purpose and leadership in my life was not necessarily about what I would do, but rather about the person I needed to become. Purpose and leadership are disruptive forces, and the thing they want to disrupt is you, that you have to change how you're currently showing up in the world and not talk about purpose and leadership, but rather begin to embody purpose and leadership. What I've come to realize is there's a space where you touch the world, a space where your impact is already felt, and how you cultivate the authentic expression of your whole self defines this space. It's every action you take, every decision you make is a vote for the person that you want to be in the world. Do not underestimate the power of this. It will define your capacity to lead and grow your ability to do so with real purpose. Our second question tonight is, what are you willing to risk? Now, in business, we talk about financial risk a lot. But for me, purpose and leadership require emotional risk. Will you allow yourself to be seen and vulnerable in the world? Because I have yet to meet someone who is living a life of deep purpose or leading in a clear way, who is not taking ongoing emotional risk, standing outside of the status quo and making decisions that are different. A headline I see everywhere this year is that purpose-led businesses make more money. If only life was that simple. I worked in investment for a long time. There's no such thing as a free lunch. What we do have is a trend by customers towards purpose-led businesses, and that provides you with a tailwind, not a guarantee of success. Rather, what purpose and leadership will require you to do at some point is to be in conflict with what other people consider success to be, that you must make decisions that are beyond financial success. And it is in these moments when you make a different decision that the emotional risk of purpose and leadership will be most evident. When I worked in investment, I gave speeches every week. It was part of my role to travel to different cities and to speak on stage and conferences and events. And yet I could not have given this speech 5 years ago. For me to do the work I do today and talk about the ideas that I have requires me to be seen in a way that I would not have been comfortable with. I would have worried too much about what people thought. Ultimately, I had to get over myself. I had to get over the internal barriers that I had to share my ideas and allow myself and my work to be really seen in the world. The great mythologist Joseph Campbell says that it is by going down into the abyss that we recover the treasures of life. Where you stumble, there lies your treasure. There are places in us all that we don't want to show, decisions we avoid because we're afraid it will reveal where we already think that we're not enough. In my experience, the deeper sense of purpose that you're longing for is there, waiting for you to have the courage to claim it, waiting for you to be the leader that the world needs you to be. And my last question tonight is, how will you inspire? Now, I'd like to ask everybody a question. Can you think of one person who inspires you? And if you'd like to share that in the chat, you can inspire all of us. Why does this matter for purpose and leadership? Because purpose and leadership are always about collective outcomes. The epitome of purpose and leadership is to be in service of other people, that we work together towards a collective purpose. I hear business leaders talk a lot about motivation. For me, motivation is cheap inspiration. Motivation is you have a goal and you want me to help you achieve that goal. Purpose-led business leaders play by a different playbook. They know that inspiration is about we have a goal and I'm going to inspire you to want to achieve that goal. Think back to the person that you thought of earlier. What is it in them that you aspire to? There's something in them that you recognize in yourself, a part of their greatness that is asleep within you. We all need people like that to help us and to inspire us to be bigger versions of ourselves. Your job as a leader is to make yourself that person, to become inspirational. And to become inspirational, you have to be bigger than your business. You can't allow your definition of a successful life just to be a successful business. You have to allow all of yourself to live and lead with inspiration. Because when you do that, you don't have to you don't have to try to be an inspirational leader. Rather, you will naturally inspire with your passion, your drive, and your zest for life. Now, we've all watched one person show us in the last 3 weeks that he has his answers to these questions. President Zelensky of the Ukraine has impressed us all, not because of just what he has done, but because he has shown us who he is. When he was offered asylum in the US, he stayed with great personal risk to himself with no guarantee of success. And he has not just led a nation, he has inspired the world. I've watched in awe as he has allowed other global leaders to be inspired to provide support in a way that 1 month ago would have seemed impossible. All of this through the purpose and leadership of one man. Now, I understand that this all can sound too big for us all to take on. And I promise you that I empathize with that. Some days I'm exhausted by how big the problems we have in the world. But each of us has to live and lead with intention, knowing that we're always having an impact, somehow, somewhere, even when we can't see it. Because purpose and leadership transcend politics, power, and position. They're about each of us choosing to be a global citizen, responsible for our actions and the impact of those actions on ourselves, others, and our planet. That we never stop believing that we can make a difference. My hope tonight is that I've inspired you, that you won't settle for conversations on purpose and leadership that lack any truth or meaning from yourself or others, and that you will know your personal answers to the 3 questions that I posed tonight. Who do you want to be in the world? What will you risk for that? And how will you inspire? Thank you.
Fiona, you are a true professional who has inspired us.
That was part of the test, I guess.
Indeed, a true professional who has inspired us at many levels. Once again, we apologize. I believe that the technical difficulty was on our side, not on yours. So again, apologies, and also acknowledging your true professionalism and the inspiration you gave us by picking that up from where it was. Thank you very much. Now we have received some questions on these 3 great insights on purpose and leadership. And this is an interesting one. Juha asks you the following question. Is it possible to learn to be really inspirational, or is it a talent that you are born with?
I think it's possible to learn, but I think that what we get wrong is basically what I've said at the start. There's too much efforting, in my view, in trying to be inspirational. For me, I think if you want to be inspirational, inspire yourself. You know, so what makes you feel inspired? What fills you up with joy? What makes you feel passionate about things? Don't try and inspire me, inspire yourself, because I will then look at you and be absolutely inspired. So I think that for some people, they are more naturally open about what inspires them. But I do think if you want to inspire other people, you have to start with yourself, because if you are not living and leading with inspiration, I am just not going to follow you. So it's always back to ourselves, always back to how we're living and leading, rather than us trying to have an impact on somebody else.
Thank you for that very fundamental insight, and you do look inspired yourself, I must say. Thank you so much.